Welcome back to the Chow Time Pod. It's your host, Red. I got a video today from Mom Alternative. Brand new channel, it looks like. She just started. She has 300 something subs. Mom, under 30, married, been with her husband for a while, very level-headed. So I think she's a pretty good base for women in my channel to kind of like see. So I'm gonna do this video, and then I'll maybe cover her a little bit more in the future too. But I'll definitely link everything down below. So please like and subscribe down below. I'd really appreciate that. And let's get to that chow. It's chow time.
We're going to be reacting to some TikTok videos about sexism.
You need me, because if all men disappeared, who would protect the women? Oh, darling, if all men disappeared, we wouldn't need protection.
So they only see us as protectors and perpetrators. So that's all we're useful for. They don't need us for building stuff. They don't need us for sex. They don't need us for love. They don't need us for, anything other than protection. And the only other way they see is if we're not protecting is we're the ones that's causing all the issues. Gotcha.
I hate these kinds of comments, honestly. At least it's a short video, which makes it a lot less painful than it could be otherwise. I think this perception that men are only here for protection must come from people like her who have no real understanding of anything that happens in the world and how it happens, i.e. 99.9, I honestly kind of want to say 100% of buildings are really built by men. Roads are built by men. The vast majority of technological advancements come from men. So the idea that we would be living in the exact same world that we're living in now, nope, if men weren't around, minus the fact that obviously men are biologically required for the propagation of our species, kind of boggles my mind. And I can only assume that it comes from really someone who is just so deeply ignorant that she's never actually understood the physical differences between men and women. When it comes to things like strength or anything like that. The fact that there is a cliche around women not being able to open jars, kind of...
It's pretty true. I've had to open up many jars for my ex-wife, so I'm just saying.
Like, surely you would, would women be able to open jars if men weren't around? I don't know. I'm not sure I would buy it.
I'm just messing
I really hate any and all of these people that really try to pit the sexes against each other, and either they argue for for women in all the ways. So everything that men ever do is evil, and women are always great and amazing, and there's nothing at all toxic or harmful about the female mindset or the way that women can be. Women are just perfect, and the world would be a much better place if we had more female leaders. If everything was run by women, then suddenly all the problems that we experience in the world would go away. That's one side of it. And then obviously the other side, which is a much smaller side, generally speaking, but there's the manosphere side where it's all around, hey, you need to keep women in their place, you need to keep women insecure, you need to make sure that they can't rely on you, because otherwise they get a little bit too full of themselves.
They get too full of themselves. Okay.
And yeah, I mean, some women definitely do, but that's also not really the healthiest way of looking at things either.
Yeah. Can't we have our shirts off in public if guys can? Do it. Take your shirt off.
Women can...
And of course it's going to be some overweight person that is fighting to be able to take your shirt off in public for a woman. What benefits does this give women? What, if anything?
You get arrested for being topless in public. And also we have the fear of getting raped, sexually assaulted, or harassed in any way. And we also have to face getting called a slut, a whore, a...
So all of those negatives you just named, and yet you still want to go topless, even if you can get sexually assaulted easier because you're topless. Even if people call you whore, and you can get arrested. Doesn't matter to you, because those things are just what happens.
That is quite a terrifying face.
I agree.
I truly, deep down in my heart of hearts, I don't understand why this idea of being topless
why is this even
in public is seen as the fundamental thing, the biggest barrier that women are facing that they need to get rid of is the right to be able to be topless in public. It's I don't understand it. There is a whole story from not that long ago. It's a news story about how Berlin, I think, allowed women to be topless in swimming pools. And I'm like, okay. I don't know the number of women out there who respect themselves and who are not obese.
Exactly. Who's not obese? Damn, we need to really fight for this law to keep in place, man. I don't want the land whales to be going topless on us.
Who are interested in walking around topless in public. And I don't understand why women perceive it as some kind of oppression, as a form of oppression that...
It's weird that they do see it that way, because the burning of a bra always symbolizes the freedom of something, you know? So I guess being forced to wear a shirt or a bra is you're hiding my goods, I guess. I don't fucking know.
You're expected to have some kind of bra on. I don't really understand it. I'm not sure what it would change in the daily, like in the experience of a normal everyday woman's life if suddenly you were allowed to do this. Now, I understand that if you were to argue for this from the feminist perspective, then I'd probably say that the reason they care so much is something along the lines of anything that is different between men and women is wrong and evil and must be eradicated.
I'm going to go a little bit further. It's anything that men have that women don't have needs to be changed and needs to convert over for women too. And men don't have this law against us that we can't be topless, or yeah. So because we have this law, women are like, well, if they have that law, we should have that law. We should be able to have the same choices. This is more that than I think it is that we have differences, it's evil or bad. No, it's we have an advantage, or any type of advantage, which would be being able to go topless in public, I guess. Isn't it some kind of advantage? Because they see that we have it and they don't. Now they fight for it just as hard, just because they don't have it for some goddamn reason.
And obviously there is a difference there in terms of breasts. Like female breasts
they're sexy,
are a sexual organ,
damn right,
unfortunately,
sexy.
Whereas male breasts are not, and that's
not
just
sexy.
It's just a biological difference. No real sex for people. I don't understand it. I wish that women would focus on problems that actually mattered. If these are the things that really, if these are things that you really care about, if you really want to fight for that, then it should not be that difficult to try and focus your energy on the circumstances where women really are being discriminated against. Right. Whereas something like, you know what's really going to change my life today? It's if I just get to take my shirt off and walk around. Like, is it really?
You have no clue how freedom...
What actually changes? I would love for someone to explain this to me, if that person exists out there who's interested in explaining it.
My son just fell in the store and hurt himself, and he began to cry. He said it hurt really bad. And then out of nowhere, a man appeared to give his unsolicited advice. At first, I was terrified because nobody asked for it. He told my son to toughen up, that he wasn't in pain, and that boys don't cry. What I wanted to do was take that watermelon and shove it inside of his ass until it came out of his mother. But I didn't do that. I explained to him that a lot of men don't know how to express their emotions now because they were forced to suppress it at a young age. I also explained to him that toxic masculinity doesn't make you more of a man, but more so of an ass that everybody hates, but people just kind of tolerate. The sad reality is that some people aren't raising up little boys. They're raising robots, machines, or little soldiers that can help fight the demons in their hell-filled homes. But over here, little boys are human beings and we're allowed to express ourselves. Listen, if you're bored, you could play Sudoku, you could play the lotto, you could play with your Please stop playing with my motherfucking kids.
I'm gonna talk to black women on this one. I hear a lot of black women talk about how the black community, there's no community to help raise kids, especially as a single mother. I hear this quite a bit. And then yet I see a video like this where I'm sure he was a black gentleman, pretty positive, came up to your kid and said, yeah, it didn't hurt, kid. You don't need to cry about it. Brush it off. And you think that he was being toxic and trying to help raise your kid. That's what a village does when they see something, especially because you look like a single mother. So you were probably alone with your kids. So the man assumed that you were probably a single mother and stepped in and did a fatherly duty for you as a community member. Yet you make a whole TikTok to shit on the man. And not just shit on the man, you shit on all men. Because he told them to not cry. He hurt himself. If I was to trip over and land on my knees and then start crying like a little bitch, I can't control my emotions. At least when women talk about like emotional intelligence, yeah, if someone broke up with me or if I lost a member in my family or something, then I can understand. But if I fell or hurt myself, bitch, get my ass up, brush it off, and then move on. This is what men need to learn. This is what kids and boys need to learn. Even women, even girls should learn it. Don't let these hurtful little emotions of pain, of physical pain, stop you and make you cry and be uncontrollable. Like if you lost an arm, I'll give you a year to be sad, depressed and cry about it, and then get the fuck up after that year, get moving, start working on yourself, start finding something that will fix whatever it is, or take solace that you lost this, but you're able to still do whatever it is you need to do and move on. If you lost 2 arms, I'll give you 2 years, fucking bitch and cry and moan for 2 years, then pick your ass up, get your ass going, and fucking find something to do that doesn't require your arms now, right? This is just what men have to do. If you don't do this, you're not going to live a very fulfilled and happy life. You have to move forward. You have to be able to control. You get punched in the face, big whoop. Don't be bitching about being punched in the face. If shit happened, now you either go train so you can take a punch to the face better, or train so that shit won't happen again. But you don't just bitch, cry, and moan about that shit. That is not what we do. These single mothers are creating such weak men that just a simple little cut on their finger, they're going to cry, bitch, and moan. No man nor women want to deal with weak men like this, especially in society.
Okay.
I think honestly my biggest question is why are people like this just so vulgar? Why do they talk like...
It's mostly black women. Like, I hate to put this on black women all the time. I see these types of videos mostly from black women. Just this attitude towards men, especially black men.
Why is this the way that you need to express yourself? Why do you think that you're making your point any stronger when you express it in this kind of really disgusting way that just turns people off from listening to you? Moving on, the thing about her point, it's just always this, like, the fact that you don't want boys to cry equals toxic masculinity. And I actually do think that repressing your emotions in general across...
No, see, yes, repressing your emotions in general, yes, but when we say boys shouldn't cry, no, you shouldn't cry at the small little pains in life. That's it. That's what we're talking about. You stubbed your toe? Don't be crying over that shit, motherfucker. That's it. Oh, you broke a finger? It hurts. Don't be crying over it. That's it. These are the things that we tell men to not cry over. You broke something? Oh, it's okay. A small emotional turmoil? Whatever. Your mother died? We understand. Your sister died? We understand. A family member died? We understand. A pet died? We understand. Anything out of those realms, there's no need to cry.
Across the board is probably not good for you, and you should learn to identify your emotions, understand where they're coming from, probably separate yourself from them a little bit so that they don't dictate everything that you do. And then you can try and react and respond in a normal human way. And obviously this is something that takes a really long time to learn, that no one really learns 100% of the time. That's why you need to keep reinforcing it.
But it's hard to learn when your mother is constantly badgering you to, you know, cry all you want and be emotional and all this stuff. These young boys are growing up fucked.
It's really funny to me that women especially come at this from this angle of like, I want to teach my boys that it's okay to cry specifically, but then faced with the reality of a boy that cries over everything, you're going to immediately be like, you know what, I'm not actually into this. My kid is kind of a crybaby, and I
They're the exact same women almost all the time.
want him to stop. And that is not an easy thing to teach a kid if you're simultaneously kind of pummeling this message of it's absolutely okay to cry 100% of the time down their throat at the same time.
Yeah, as they were young, you can cry all you want. And then as they get older, you need to be stoic and strong. Like, oh, well, fuck, I was sharing my emotions the whole time until now. I don't know how to... It's fucking hard for people to change their habits, especially if they've grown up those habits.
And I truly believe that this is not different between boys and girls. I don't think that you want to teach girls to be crybabies either. But there is definitely a point as a parent where you're like, okay, I want to teach my kid how to express his emotions. But a really big part of raising kids is teaching them how to regulate their emotions and how to deal with them. And especially when they're young, you know, when they're 2, 3, 4 years old, then that process of trying to learn how to regulate their emotions is a really complicated one, it's a really difficult one. They feel everything so intensely and they can't really change their reactions at all. And one of the things that you need to learn, obviously, as an adult is that you shouldn't be so ruled by your emotions anymore. Right. So maybe that's kind of an angle that you could come at this from. I understand that the statement "boys don't cry" in and of itself is kind of a sexist one. It's only targeted at boys. Brings to mind for a lot of people this whole idea of toxic masculinity, because they're like, oh, men are all repressed. But honestly, in a lot of cases, men just don't express themselves the same way that women do. And I think that the desire to try and make men like women or make women like men in the previous TikTok is it's just not good. It's just not healthy. Sometimes you have to just accept that there are differences and differences are okay. And then we can try to learn what the differences are. If there are differences that are unhealthy or bad or harmful for either one of the genders, and you can work on that and we can identify them and try and improve them. But the rest of it is really just, it's not that big of a deal.
It is.
It's kind of crazy to me that she got so insulted. Not that I would be into it if some random stranger tried to give advice to my kid, but
see, she wouldn't even be into it too. So this is why the community's dead. People in the grocery store can't even say anything to your child. Like, you got to remember, like, in the US, I guess we talked about this in the Asian video, how we respect our elders very, very, very greatly. And the US just doesn't do that. And here, and these types of scenarios, they would be elders because they're older than your son. They're telling your son an advice. There's nothing wrong with that. In Asian communities, most parents would just let that happen and be like, see, I told you. I told you. I told you before, and now he tells you. So it instills even more into the child because the parents were telling him, and now a random stranger is telling him the same thing that his parents has been telling him. So it helps edify that what he's doing is not inherently wrong, but it's not what he should be doing. So
somehow I suspect that that's what's going on, and probably the guy saw that there was no man there present, and so he interacted with him as a man would, and obviously that triggered her. Says a lot about her.
Poor man. Like, he did his best to try to help out the child, but, you know, single mothers be single mothering.
I have 5 children between the ages of 2 and 12, and the turning point for me was when I went to Oxford and I was studying my PhD as a Rhodes Scholar, And I went to this seminar called Books and Babies. And I've been married for about 6 months. And the seminar had a gynecologist and a senior academic. And the gynecologist told all the young women in the room, and it was packed. There were so many women who wanted to know about books and babies.
Yeah.
And the gynecologist said, all of you should just be having babies now, because your body is made to have babies in your 20s when you're young. And that's the best time to have babies.
This used to be instilled into women. Instilled into them when they were young. Nowadays, women are in their 30s and are like, what? Wait, I have more issues with having babies now? But women have kids all the time in their 30s. It's like, yes, but the chances of having healthier, stronger, better babies and you not being so devastated through these pregnancies is much better at those later, younger ages. And then now academics push us the other way around.
Yeah. And then the senior academic said, don't do that. Absolutely don't do that. Have babies when you've got professional security and you've already achieved career success. And I walked away from that seminar thinking, why?
Conflicted.
Yeah, but I also thought, like, I was so frustrated that we are not demanding that workplaces change. We're just being co-opted into this environment where, okay, I'll have babies when I'm 35, even though that's not best for me and my body. I've met my husband young. I was 26 years old. And I thought, well, I'm just going to have babies now because that's ridiculous. Like, why should I have to wait to get professional security to then have babies? I want to exercise that choice. And so I spoke to my husband, and I literally think we might have conceived that night.
Ooh, I had a good time that night.
I know a lot of people who take this kind of message like really, really hard. And
yeah, because they were sold the other side, and they like, now they're realizing, oh, fuck, they're 35 plus and they might not be able to have kids.
I'm one of those people who also I met my husband when I was very, very young. We've been together for a very long time. And we made the decision, like we pushed having kids for quite a while. I think we were delayed a bit longer than I had originally wanted us to be. But then, you know, that's what happened. I'm still in my 20s. So, you know, I at least managed to get in before I hit 30. But it's definitely hard. And especially the part of trying to achieve career success first. I think for the majority of people, your 20s are just not going to be where you're most successful, where you're most successful career-wise. And so it's really hard to try and balance between the two. And a lot of women, especially nowadays, a lot of women are kind of like, yeah, you know what, whatever, I have lots and lots of time. And then obviously by the time you're 30, that's when you kind of start thinking about it. And that's a personal choice. I understand where that's coming from. I think people want to have this perception and this feeling and this image of security, both financially, but also kind of mentally in their career. So that they have this idea of, okay, if I'm out of the workforce for some period of time, then I can still jump back in and I'll still be successful and I'll manage to do everything. And I understand where that comes from. But honestly, in the majority of cases, it makes it so much harder on you physically. And in a lot of cases, it probably also makes it harder on you mentally as well. And maybe the ideal solution would be that women have their relationship, have their family, have the kids relatively early on, and then you can jump back into the workforce. And I know it's extremely hard nowadays because almost no one does this. Extremely hard to switch from being a housewife, for example, to being a working mom when your kids are like 10 years old, let's say. But in terms of as an outcome that's really most ideal for women, biologically speaking, that would be the way. I don't think that the answer is that women just don't work or anything like that. I think really the answer is to rethink your priorities in life and then prioritize based on the things that are actually important to you. And I know that a lot of people would look at this, and she said already, the academic person there was like, absolutely don't do that, wait until you have professional security. So the message from both sides is very clear. The gynecologists actually nowadays as well, most likely the vast majority of them won't be recommending that you have babies early either.
This is saddest part about the West. Even gynecologists now are not even starting to recommend that anymore because just not enough people are doing it, even though it's biologically the best for women.
Because just a lot of people don't do that. But we know we know how it works biologically, and we know what it's like for women that experience this. And so it's just really, really interesting that we've gotten to this point where the vast majority of advice out there and the cultural push is coming from the angle that is in many ways most harmful to women. And that's
we talk about it all the time here in the manosphere. How was that, Chow? I liked her take on things. It was very, very base and very logical through her own eyes and just what she saw. We don't get too many women like this that are creating content for us in a sense. So please like and subscribe for her down below. She is a newer channel. Let's help her get to 1,000. And we need women like her in this space, like legitimate women that live the life, that knows what's going on, that sees the battle between women and help fight for the side that is for women. I like her content, so please like and subscribe down below. I'd really appreciate that, and catch you guys next time.